important to get. Everyone has to know. All right. Hello and welcome to Just Animals podcast. I'm Elle, and with me as always is my dad, aka Guy.
Hello, Pog World. It's good to be back. It's good to still be here.
Yes. And with us today, we have a very special guest, Christine Heinrichs, and I'm going to let her go ahead and introduce herself and tell us who she is. I don't want to steal any of her thunder, and we'll get today's episode going. So take it away, Christine.
Okay, great. I was living in the Central Coast from 1990 to 2000. And during that time, a very interesting thing happened, which was that elephant seals started arriving on the local beaches. And they had not been seen before. No one knew what they were. They're very large animals. The males get up to 5,000 pounds. So this was like not something you could overlook. And it became sort of a problem. They would get onto the highway. There were occasional car wrecks. You can imagine
the Central Coast of California. Like, this is on 101. They're causing accidents
on 101 on Highway 1, which is
oh, it's even closer. Yeah,
it's right along the coast. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, and this area. People think of California as very urbanized, which it is, but in between San Francisco and Los Angeles is a largely agricultural area.
It's all farmland. Yeah.
It's all
Watsonville, strawberries, artichokes.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it. The nation's salad bowl is in there. And so out here on the coast, the Hearst Corporation owns over 80,000 acres, and there's nothing out here. There's not a street light. It's a 2-lane highway. It goes through Big Sur, think in terms of that. So it's very remote. And at night, I can just imagine what it must have been like for a car to come upon this 5,000-pound animal in the middle of the road. It was terrifying. And so it was a very serious situation, both for the seals and for the people. So a volunteer organization started getting interested, working with the county and the state. This really has been a success story of public agencies working together to try and protect the seals and protect the public. And they've been able to turn this into a tourist attraction. It's unusual because usually when wildlife and humans cross paths, it's curtains for the wildlife.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the end of the story.
What's that one from Australia? You send the videos. She probably knows that one. What is that one?
What are you talking about?
Those videos that you sent where the
Neil the seal. We will address Neil the seal.
Oh, right. Yes, Neil the seal.
Yes.
Right.
We will get to Neil the seal. Right now we're
get to him.
We're talking about Northern Hemisphere right now. Thank you.
Right. But he is that's an interesting example. So they organized through some various groups, ocean and coastal groups, to create a docent system that would try to explain the seals to the public and explain why it's not a good idea to get close to these animals. When they're on the beach, they're sleeping and they look inert, but they are not. They are not predators with very big teeth and bad dispositions. And bites were not unknown. And so this has really been a success story. There's now a very nice viewpoint with boardwalks so that it can accommodate even people in wheelchairs or with walkers. And it's an excellent spot to really observe the seals. And I sort of think of it as the anti-Disneyland. We're free, open all day, every day. There are no shows except what the animals naturally do. And one of the things that sort of relates to Neil the seal is that these animals, most wild animals, are very wary of people, run away. They
don't want anything to do with us. Usually it's like, what is this?
Well,
exactly.
Look what we do to their environment. That's why.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they have nothing to do with us. We're not their prey. We're not, but and we tend to be scary. But the elephant seals, for whatever reason, don't really care about people. They don't really take notice. They're not easily intimidated. I mean, certainly they can be, and those interactions are always a problem. But for the most part, they sit on the beach and let people stand, 20 feet away on the boardwalk and watch them do what they do. And what they do on the beach is live their lives. And so we have this exceptional opportunity to see a huge herd of large wild animals in their natural habitat without having to go to Africa and go on a safari or whatever.
Or
You just
SeaWorld.
pull, or SeaWorld,
Yeah.
you just pull off the highway into the parking lot, get out of your car, and you are there.
Christine,
So
where is there? You didn't tell us the city.
it is Piedras Blancas. It is just north of San Simeon, California, which is where Hearst Castle is.
Yes.
If
Mhm.
you've heard of that.
I've been there. Yeah.
It's south of Big Sur.
Yes.
So we're sort of between Monterey and San Luis Obispo on a
Mhm.
map.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
in the central, really in central California.
Yeah. So
Pedros Blancos.
Piedras
Fair enough.
Blancas.
So,
And this
is
docent
there a
service, tell
special
us,
season where
hold on,
that you can
hold on,
see
we'll get to that.
more?
We'll get to that. Tell us more about this docent service that was started and that you're a part of.
Okay. They started a group with, at the beginning, they were just really telling people, please, don't come near the seals and let's watch them from here. And it developed into a real educational program so that they have their own training. And every docent is really very well trained in information about the seals so that they can answer questions that the public has when they come to view the seals, like, why are they flipping sand on their back? Is that seal dead? That's a that's a question last week. Everyone is saying, I think he's dead. No, he's when and this sounds kind of awful, but when they're dead, they really look dead. Like the gulls peck their eyes out. I mean, it's
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's like,
Wow.
it's
yeah,
definitive. It doesn't just look like a brick. I mean, yeah, they sleep like bricks,
it's
but it's dead,
Wow.
dead.
it's really dead. Yeah, they're fine, but because they're deep divers, even when they're on land, they may only breathe once every 15 or 20 minutes.
Even on land, that's
Even
insane.
on land, I know. So
Wow.
people will watch him and say, he's not breathing, he's
Mm.
dead. But that's normal for them, and they can manage that.
And this docent, the name of the organization,
It's the Friends of the Elephant Seal,
Friends of the
and we
Elephant
have
Seal.
blue jackets
Okay.
and shirts, so we're easily identified. And each of us has I brought up my packet, but not a packet of information that
Ah,
includes all kinds of, we have a brochure to hand out to people that tells a little bit of background, elephant
Mhm.
seal news, and it tells what's going on. The seals are migratory, so they
Oh.
have an annual cycle.
mhm.
So at different times of year, you will know what you'll see on the beach. Like right now, most of the pups have been born,
Oh,
although there might still be a few more being born, but most of them are being weaned.
okay.
And so they're getting ready for their first migration.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's
yeah,
exciting.
so
What
that's
is the range of the migration, Christine? Do you know?
yeah, I sent you a map of that. So
Okay.
you've got that if you want to use that, but it goes
Oh,
all the
yeah.
way from Mexico up to Alaska. It's along the whole North Pacific. The males tend to stay along the coastline and then return to the beach across the open ocean. And the females range widely over the open ocean. It's because the males and the females have different feeding strategies.
Uh-huh.
The males feed along the continental shelf on the bottom,
Mhm.
and the females feed in what's called the mesopelagic layer, which is a layer about 2,000 feet deep, which is filled with small fish. So they're actually gaining all that weight. The females weigh between 1,000 and 1,500 pounds. They're putting on all that blubber, eating fish that are only 3 inches long.
Oh my.
Wow.
So
Wow.
they in order to do that, they literally feed 20 to 24 hours a day.
Oh my,
Sheesh.
Yeah.
that's
So
insane.
this animal may be the mammal that needs the least sleep in the
Yeah, I
animal
was gonna say if it's, I mean, if it's feeding all day, when does it rest? And then, so how thick is, if blubber is the correct term, how thick is their blubber then? Since they're diving so deep and they're, all the way up in Alaska.
Well, it's several inches deep. It varies during the time of the year
Sure.
because they also have several long fasts when they just live off their blubber.
Oh.
Yeah, so the females, when the pregnant females arrive in December,
Mhm.
they're pretty fat and they're also pretty pregnant. But then during that next month, they nurse their pup, but they don't eat anything at all.
Oh wow.
So they get very thin. They lose about a third of their body weight. So
Wow.
they really need that blubber at that point.
Right.
The males may go as long as 120 days without eating.
Oh
So
my.
they get really thin. And I got some pictures of that. They get to their thinnest. So it just depends on the time of year how much blubber they have. But they definitely need it. And as soon as the females have weaned their pups, they have to go back into the ocean because they need to start feeding. They're
Sure.
basically almost at starvation.
Sure.
I don't know if this will show up. No, it really doesn't.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, yeah,
See,
yeah.
that's a nice
Mhm.
fat seal at the top.
Yes.
And then here he is later.
Oh wow. And that's the same guy.
Well, it's hard to tell
Well,
because seal can look very much like
sure.
another, but it's that similar.
It's another male that has gone through the
Right,
whole fasting
right.
process. Wow,
A
that's in.
similar character. Yeah.
So the babies, yeah, so let's go into gestation period. Like, what's the gestation period, and then how big are the babies when they're typically born, and when's the
Okay,
mating
that's
season?
another great question because they have an unusual gestation. The mothers, they have their pups, they nurse for a month, they wean them, and they come into estrus like a dog comes into heat, and
Mhm.
that's when they have to mate. So they're on the beach with the males at that point, and they breed, and the egg gets fertilized. It divides a couple of times, and then it stops. It goes into a sort of hibernation. It
Hmm.
doesn't implant and it
Oh,
doesn't continue growing.
oh, that's like
The
with
mother's very
kangaroos.
thin at this point, and
Mhm.
so she really needs to gain some weight before she establishes a new pregnancy.
Mhm.
So, and the way this works out is amazing. So she goes out into the ocean. She feeds for about 2 or 3 months, and puts on a bunch of blubber, and then around May comes back to the beach, and that's when this egg starts to develop. So it's about 11 months between breeding and birth, but it's only about 8 months of actual active gestation.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's called delayed implantation.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Like a couple animals can do that.
Right. It's not unique to elephant seals, but it is
Right.
unusual.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so interesting. So when is like the mating season for them typically? Is that,
It's right now.
oh, right now?
It's
Oh, okay.
right. Yeah, it's usually because it's coordinated with the mother's birth
Mhm.
and weaning. So the mothers start having their pups in late December, but of course they're coming to the beach one by one, kind of straggling in. They don't although they're in a group on the beach, they're not really
They're not like
a
pack
herd.
animals.
Exactly. They don't
Okay.
have a social structure that keeps them
Okay.
together.
Okay.
So they're all coming and going individually. So they're straggling in. Like I say, there might be still a few mothers coming into the beach to have their pups at this point, but most of them have mated and gone. So they'll continue mating probably through March. There'll still be some females and some very tired and thin males on the beach, and then eventually all the females will be gone. There's usually a few males hang around and just sleep for another week or two, and then they depart because they're very thin and they need to go eat again too.
So will they
How long
always
do
come?
let me ask a question. You had yours. How long does the mom hang out with the baby? Number one, and number two, when is the baby able to fend for themselves?
Okay, the mother nurses for about 28 days,
Uh-huh.
Short.
Yeah.
and that's it. And the pup is born at about 70 or 75 pounds and nurses up to over 200 pounds in that
Wow.
20 days.
Wow. Wow. That's some concentrated milk.
It's extremely concentrated.
Yeah.
You know, cow's milk is maybe 2-3% milk. This
Yeah.
milk can be as high as 40 or 50% fat.
Ooh, wow. That's
Yeah,
almost butter.
it is.
Yeah.
It's a thick consistency. So it gets to be almost like mayonnaise.
Mm,
So yeah, so that's, and of course that's depleting the mother's energy all along the way. So the pup
right.
at that point, once he's weaned, that's the end. The mother never
Goodbye.
even recognizes, yeah, like you're done.
Wow. So they
It's
wean and
been
then
nice.
it's like, okay, your 28 days are up. Bye. I'm in the ocean. Whatever happens to you happens.
That's right. That's right. You
Wow.
start. And they are more or less ready to start at that point. They stay on the beach for another 8 to 12 weeks. They're still, their teeth are still erupting, and they've got to have their teeth so that they can
Yeah.
hunt. Their metabolism changes completely from that rapid weight gain to no food at all. So they
Oh,
have
yeah.
to be
Because,
able to,
yeah,
yeah, because
they're
their
weaned
mom,
and then mom dipped on him and was like, bye.
yep, that's it. So that's one of the changes that these seals have to be able to make. They metabolically, they have to
Wow.
be able to cope with not eating for 2 or 3 months.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
Does their metabolisms change or slow
Yeah, she just
down
said it. She
or
just said it did.
oh, I'm sorry.
it does. It goes from taking in food and turning it into blubber to metabolizing that blubber to meet all their nutritional needs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. I mean, and how rapidly that happens. I mean, because like a human, if you were to put on that type of weight in that short amount of time, you'd be diabetic. And then if you were to lose that amount of weight in that short amount of time, you'd still have issues. Like that's
It,
insane. Just, I mean, like the
Well,
physiology of that, like is,
for survival.
well, obviously it's for survival, but if you look at it from like a human standpoint, it's like that would kill you.
oh,
That's so unhealthy.
oh no, a human literally couldn't do this. Plus, they have no fresh water.
Oh my God.
Where would they
Yeah.
get fresh water, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
So they also have no water. So yeah, this is obviously metabolically very interesting scientifically
absolutely.
because
Wow.
how they accomplish this, and it's far from fully understood.
Of course, because it's like
Do
it's insane.
males mate with multiple females or are they monogamous or pair up or
Um,
how does that work?
One scientist said that elephant seal males are probably the least discriminating males in the animal kingdom.
Fair
They
enough.
will meet with anything
Oh,
that will stay
Oh,
still. They
okay.
sometimes are kind of violent. They the breeding structure is that there's a few males and a lot of females. So on the Piedras Blancas beach, the harem that a male dominates might be about 30 to 50 females.
oh
And
wow.
they will, but of course, that one male is going to be challenged by other males.
Sure.
So there's always contention, there's challenges. Some males will try to sneak into the harem and just try and see what they can get away with,
Right.
which can be, from a human point of view, kind of funny to watch
Oh, I'm sure.
because, you know, it's like, oh, nothing happening
Right.
here.
Don't mind
Hmm.
me. I'm just gonna be over here. Don't mind me. I'm just this big what do you call those things? Beanbag, essentially.
Yeah.
Just a beanbag in the corner. It's fine.
Right, yes. So,
So do they
but
go
of course,
I'm so sorry. So do the moms go back to the same beach every year to birth, or do they just kind of haul out wherever?
this is a really good question that we don't really have a good answer to, but people are trying to, because it's so hard to identify them as individuals
Sure.
and follow them. So they need individual tracking
Right.
devices. and those are very expensive.
Yes. Yes.
They have tried, there are plastic tags. They're very difficult to read, and they're only an inch and a half long, and trying to see them in the sand, and the sand rubs the numbers off. There's one project that's using hair dye to stamp numbers on the back side
Ah,
of the
okay.
seal, but the seals shed their skin once a year.
Hmm.
So once that
Yeah.
comes
Right.
off,
It's gone.
it's gone. So that's very difficult. But that's a really interesting question, and everyone really wonders what are they choosing?
Right.
Is it a location?
Right.
Is there some geographical aspect? Does it have to do with how rocky or sandy it is?
Right.
Does it have to do with other seals they know?
Right. Were they born there, or like is it just
Were they
strictly
born
convenience?
there? Exactly.
Got it.
There's a lot of things that can influence why they're on that beach,
Mhm.
but we just don't know all of them yet. But people are working on this.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so tell us more about this. And that's what I was when I was looking into like Neil the seal, like because he was, I think, on land for like a good 2 months down there in Tasmania. And some biologist was talking about how they go through this like horrific molt once a year. And
Mhm.
that's what Neil was doing. And that's why he was just hanging out in estuaries and in this guy's front yard. Is that what happens every year? They just like molt like a crab?
That's right. Their skin peels off
Oh my
and in chunks, and underneath is the new skin. Now, if there's scars on the skin, those remain. So in the past, there was some effort to brand seals,
Yeah, I was gonna
but
say
it was felt to be not humane.
I was gonna
And
ask the
this,
ethics of that. Like, because I was gonna say, like,
yeah,
have you considered branding? I was like, I don't know if branding them is really the best thing to do,
Yeah, but if they
though.
shed their skin, you might lose the brand.
No, if
In
it's branded deep enough, it's not
well,
going anywhere.
maybe depends on how thick it
Yeah,
goes
but
down.
I again, I don't know. Like she said, the ethics of branding a seal.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not livestock.
in Hawaii, there are turtles that have numbers on their shell. I don't know if you're
Mhm.
familiar with that, but I've seen it go by. Turtles go by, and there's an like I thought it was an advertisement of something, like Google got in touch with these turtles, but it was a
Yeah,
tracking
but
number
painting
for
a
the
shell with, I'm sure, some
yeah,
sort of
that's
like
hard. It's easier. Yes,
acrylic paint is not really going to
right.
hurt the turtle.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. And the turtle doesn't change the shell.
Right.
right. Yeah.
So those are problems, but I think that people are working on overcoming them
Sure.
so that we can learn more about these seals who spend 8 to 10 months of their lives deep in the ocean, and they're very difficult to research out there.
So they're just in the ocean. They don't haul out for like 8 to 10 months. They're just in the ocean,
8 to 10 months of the year, they're in the ocean. They
like an
have two,
albatross.
Yeah.
right,
Christine, you said that they
That's
can don't
insane.
have to breathe for 15-20 minutes.
right.
So based on that information, what is the maximum depth we think that they're diving to?
They're
Well,
down
I
there
did,
with the sperm whales.
right. I did send you a couple of charts about that.
Yeah, I don't think he was able to see them, Christine. So we'll have
Okay,
to
Yeah,
well,
recap.
we can use
she
those
doesn't
as
share
supplemental
anything with
material.
me, so yeah.
Well, I'll share them.
Thank
So,
you,
okay.
Christine.
Females generally go to about 2,000 to 3,000 feet.
Oh
I
my
know. That's what I said when
God.
she told me. I was like, "Are
Wait
you
a minute.
serious?"
So in addition to the body, they're living off their blubber. That's a lot of pressure. That's a tremendous amount of pressure, 2,000 feet. I don't know
Yeah.
what the PSI is, but I'm going to look that up right now.
It's squishing you, is what it is. It's
Yeah,
death.
so that's remarkable, Christine.
I know they're quite amazing creatures. Really quick before we could touch back on the depth. So, what is the purpose of this molt? Is this just new skin? I mean, are they like snakes? They just need a new skin, or
Well, it's thought that it might be related to the fact that they are such deep divers that, like you and I,
They get in a
we're
wetsuit.
always losing skin cells and
Yeah.
sloughing off
of
and
hair. And so we don't have to go through that. But that they're, because of that pressure, they're unable to lose their fur that way. So they, in order to get new skin, and which our skin always needs to be renewed, this is how they've developed into what's called a catastrophic
That's what
molt.
the word catastrophic. So they really, so is it that why they haul out for like 2 months? Are they, because they're waiting for their new skin? They
Right.
can't go back.
Right. Well, a
Oh,
lot of reasons when the females come back in May, they're molting, but that's also the time that triggers development of the embryo. So there's a lot going on that, again, is not fully understood
Yeah.
with these animals. But yeah, that's a very important event in their lives, because that coordinates all the females to be having their pups at about the same time, even though they're not, like you said, they're not really a herd animal,
Right.
but they are coordinated,
Right.
and they
They're
do
synced up.
they're synced up. Exactly.
Okay, that's just so crazy that they just go through this catastrophic molt and there's like, oh, we're just not going to swim for a little bit because we're shedding right now. That's just so crazy.
Right.
And but back to the deep diving, and then what was it? I believe you said males when we last spoke can go what, almost like a mile, like 5,000?
They can go a mile deep. And these are such deep divers. These are depths that is difficult for human researchers to get to.
Yeah.
And it's not unknown that they have put tracking
Oh, I'm
devices
sure the tracker
and
just went.
sensors on the seals and kind of turned them into oceanographers to measure temperature and salinity at those depths,
Yes.
because it's so hard to send a human-made vehicle down that far.
Right. If
Okay,
Ocean
here's
Gate
the
taught us
question we
anything.
ask everyone.
No.
Has the Department of Defense enlisted elephant seals for any work?
I'm sure they have.
Because it's amazing how Department of Defense, Department of Energy, and Department of whatever are interested in animal biologies, the things that they do. They try to replicate their camouflage. We had a guy on with the groundhogs. What's the technical term for groundhog?
Marmots.
Marmots.
Dr.
And
Florell.
they cut their respiration way down. They go into
kind of like the elephant seal, like a
they go into a
torpor.
hibernation phase, and they come out and they go back in, but they can last months without eating. And the Department of Defense wanted to figure out how they can have cold weather survival for humans. So they're always interested in these animal behaviors. Unfortunately for military purposes, I hope not all of them, but so as
Yeah, just about
Department of,
every animal we've talked about, the Department of Defense has had some type of or funded some project, that they
right.
benefit from the research studies, and then depending upon the outcomes, they'll either quietly stop
what was that
funding or
one?
continue funding.
Yeah, with that slime. What was
The
that one with
hagfish.
the hagfish? There's this thing with they were trying to replicate their slime. Butterflies. It's just
Yeah.
amazing, the engineering in animals,
Poison dart frogs.
how we are trying to replicate those for different.
Cuttlefish was another one.
Oh yeah, cuttlefish, right. But anyway, do you know if the Department of Defense
Well, they're obviously using them for mapping.
Yeah. Well, maybe they're better than sonar because they're going
Probably.
down so deep. But the pressure at
Wait, let her
1,500
answer the
feet
question. Let her answer
is
the question.
630 PSI.
No.
That's more
Ocean
than
Gate.
crushing.
Ocean Gate. Okay, we all know what happened to them.
Yeah.
That's 1,500 only. So you better go to 5,000. I can't. I'll have to see if I can find that. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Christine.
Yeah, no, I don't know of any Defense Department studies,
Yeah.
but it would not surprise me, because these are really significant questions. Some of the researchers say these animals have so many things about them that are so unusual. They call them aliens.
Yeah,
because
they are.
I mean, they're undergoing these pressure changes every 15 or 20 minutes. I mean, how can they survive this? They don't get the bends.
Yeah.
What are their adaptations? Exactly. They are adapted to be able to do that. How that's worked for them is they can occupy an ecological niche and exploit the resources, the fish and squid resources, that there's not a lot of competition for, because who else is down there?
No, besides the
okay,
sperm
so-
whales. No, and I don't think sperm whales eat them, if I recall
They do.
correctly. No,
to-
okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's them and the sperm whales but in darkness. So that being said, their vision must be exceptional, or do they have any type of like echolocating or?
That's a really good question too, because that was one of the questions when I first got involved. They've got these huge eyes, and I
Yeah, they
thought,
do have.
Yeah.
Why do they have big eyes when they're down in these depths where there's no light? But the fact is, some of their prey is bioluminescent,
Ah,
Mm.
squid that flash light.
right. Yes, yes, yes.
And there are some researchers that are getting some video, and they are finding that there are some light sources down there. Also, their whiskers, vibraceae, are exceptionally sensitive. They
Sure.
found that the innervation is like our fingertips,
Oh, wow.
that each
Each
whisker
whisker. Wow.
has a particular location, so they are using their whiskers to help them find food.
Phenomenal.
And that's, again, it's not something that's well understood yet,
Yeah.
Sure.
but we're starting to get some understanding.
So at 5,000 feet below sea level, the pressure is 7,300 psi.
No, no,
I
no,
can't even think of
no.
what that does. I mean, I don't. It's
But
mind-boggling.
one, going down
Mhm.
there, and then two, being able to, like, I mean, essentially wrap, like, how long can they typically, how long does the
Well,
average dive last?
Well, she said they brief every 15
Shush,
minutes,
quiet
so
you.
they
That's
got to come up.
not you. Shush. I don't want to hear your hypothesis. Shush you.
Well, that's true. Most dives are 15 to 20 minutes, but on that one dive chart that I sent you, there was one dive of over an hour. And
Jesus.
it's thought that maybe that was a sleeping dive. And there
Okay.
is one researcher who's
Sleeping
working
dive. Time out. What is that?
that they call it a falling leaf dive, that it's, since these animals do have to eat so much of the time, they have to catch up on sleep whenever they can, which
Uh-huh.
would be during a dive. And so
Oh.
they're diving down, it's just like they're falling through the water like a leaf instead
Okay.
of a real dive
Actively
down.
swimming down.
Exactly. And so on that kind of dive, they think of that as a sleeping dive. And then on that dive, she just stayed down at the bottom for a while, and she wasn't moving around the way she would, as you would expect her to do if she was catching fish.
Sure.
So they think of her as, and then gradually coming back to the surface. And that's what passes for sleep if you're an elephant seal.
That's
So are the young
insane.
ones able to do that deep dive right away, or do they have to get kind of like gradually build up their depth?
Exactly right. They have to build it up, and that's what they're doing after they're weaned. They've spent most of their time nursing and sleeping. Mom moves out to the ocean, and they're on the beach now, and they have to spend time practicing holding their breath, learning to hold their breath longer, learning how to dive, because now they're on their own and they're going to have to be able to get their own food. And they
Okay.
can, even very early on their first migration, they can dive to, I think, 1,600 feet for some recorded
My
dives.
God.
Eesh.
A baby?
So
A baby, a
wow,
wean.
that's
Oh my
amazing.
God.
So let me ask you a question. How do you call it a herd? I don't know if herd is the
They are not
proper
pack animals.
It could be called,
colony.
sometimes called,
Colony.
yeah.
How are they doing? Are they and who's taking the census? How is it? How is there a census performed?
There is a census performed. There's a researcher at Cal Poly, which is here in San Luis Obispo, just south of here, who's doing a census. What they're using now is drones to fly over the rookery and take photos and then count them. Because otherwise, you can imagine, how on earth are you going to count these things? They're moving around all the time.
Yeah, no.
So that's a more accurate census. They're doing very well. They've been protected here in the United States since the 1980s
Oh,
by the
good.
Marine Mammal Protection Act. So the herd is a pretty good size. The problem is that back in the late 19th and early 20th century, they were hunted to, they actually thought they were extinct.
Yeah, we are very good at doing that to animals, unfortunately.
Exactly. That's where it was going. They were hunted for their oil. And one of the worst stories is that a team from the Smithsonian Institution came out to try and find some, and they found some number, I think 9 on a beach, and they killed 7 of them to take them.
Fabulous. When was that?
This was in the early 20th century. I'll find you the
Yeah.
reference.
The
It was,
Smithsonian? How dare you?
well, this was the thought at the time. They said they're extinct anyway. We need to take them as exhibits.
No, you
Yeah.
tried a breeding program to bring them back.
Okay, yeah,
not-
that's insane.
You're
Like, who
just,
approved that? I would like to. What senators and
you
congress people
just,
approved this? Because I have questions and I just
well,
want to talk.
that was a different time, I think.
Doesn't
This was-
matter. I want to talk to them.
This was, I mean, it's a very shocking example of how people thought about it back then.
That's insane. Oh,
So
just kill them.
Wow.
just
Wow,
we
wow, wow.
so the population was extremely small. There were maybe a couple left on that island. The thing is that they're migratory seals, so there were seals in the water migrating
Sure.
their places, but they actually think that the population got down to fewer than 100
Oh
animals.
God.
So that created a very narrow genetic bottleneck,
Yeah.
and these seals are all genetically very similar at this point.
Yikes.
So if something comes along, which there are some pathogens out there that are very threatening, it could really wipe them out. And this actually is maybe happening to southern elephant seals now, which are being devastated by highly pathogenic avian influenza. So this is very tragic.
Is there another part of the world that has elephant seals?
Yes, Neil the seal is in Australia. What?
Yeah, but maybe we need to import a couple of
No,
those.
they're the sick ones.
Oh, they are the sick ones? I thought
They're infected right now. Yeah.
Oh, well, we
No,
don't want
leave them
them.
there. I'm like,
Yeah.
respectfully, leave them there.
Right. So
No, but-
it's, I mean, and there's monitoring programs going on here along the coast that, you know, we turn in any dead bird that we find
Oh,
to
sure.
tested, and you know, we're all crossing our fingers and just whistling in the dark and hoping this
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
Oh,
So
yeah, you definitely gotta
I
check
need
the
to do a
birds.
slight diversion because I did look you up, and you are a poultry
Yes,
person.
she said the poultry.
No, I understand that. So I need to ask the question.
Oh boy.
I'm not a prepper, but I think preppers must love you because chickens are a big prepper commodity. Isn't that true?
That is true.
Can you talk about that a little bit? I'm not, I love the
You're
seals
trying to
and they're
derail
wonderful.
this.
No, but it's her expertise.
We're gonna have her come back and do avians, okay?
Oh, okay. All right.
Because
But,
we've got condor stuff we got to talk about
yeah, I
too.
mean, I'm sure her books are #1 seller on the prepper website.
Well, they're also on the American Poultry Association website. Really, I think it's the only general interest poultry book that they endorse. Yeah.
Are chickens indigenous to the United States, to our area?
No.
They are not. They are indigenous to Asia.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there are a
And
lot of
that-
birds that look like chickens over there. Yeah.
They have a lot. Yes, there's wild jungle fowl over there. That's the origin. But chickens have been domesticated probably for at least 8,000 years. So they are really domestic livestock at this point. And
Okay.
there's just a lot of different kinds. There's poultry exhibition. There's poultry shows, just like there's
Yes.
dog shows.
Oh, we went
Yes,
to
there's
the
an
county
Amazon-
fair,
I was just about to ask,
and
there is, wait, no,
they
hold
are
on.
very fancy ones.
Yes, there's an
Uh-huh.
Amazon documentary about these people and their show chickens. And it's, I
Right.
forget what it was called, but my husband and we watched it because they're like show chickens. Like, what is that? And like people, I mean, I'd say they're nuttier than, and not nutty in like a mean way, but they're more into it than, yeah, no, okay, they are nutty. Yeah, they're nuttier than like people that show dogs. And that's already a pretty nutty group of people, but like they take it to an extreme. If they're like, oh, I'm constantly breeding and trying to make this variant. And it's like,
It's the
It's very-
ACC, American Chicken Club.
it is the way, and then this one guy's like, I'm not even married. He's like, I have no social life. I just I just breed chickens, and it's like,
Well,
okay.
I think of them as charming eccentrics,
yeah, okay.
Wow.
in which I include myself. I have a small flock myself of varied chickens,
But you
including
have other
some
interests.
Chinese and American. And yeah, I mean, we can do many shows on that. Believe me, there's a lot of
Yes, we will
material.
definitely have to come back for the
Yeah,
for
we'll have the
avians.
next show. We'll talk
But-
exclusively on chickens because we don't want to
Take your time.
abuse your
Anyways,
time.
well, you derailed us. Okay, anyways, we're going back to the elephant seals because we will schedule the follow-up for poultry and avians and chickens, guys. Anyways, speaking of interesting features, like one, when they're ascending and descending, I mean, that's crazy that they don't get, like, I'm sure the Department of Defense is probably studying how they're able to ascend and descend from thousands of feet without
Yes.
dying, number one,
Yeah.
how they're able to
Yeah.
be down there for minutes to an hour and then again ascend and have no impact on them. I mean, like the technology for that. I mean, humans haven't even come up with technology for that, but this animal just has it.
Right. They have a lot of things that have developed to adapt them to do that. They have about twice the blood volume of a comparably sized land mammal,
Okay.
and their blood. They also have an oxygen carrying molecule in their muscles, myoglobin, as well as hemoglobin, so that their muscles can remain have that oxygen food
instead of
throughout
wasting.
that.
Right.
They're able to completely collapse their lungs when they dive, so that they're not carrying those gases, which are the
sure, they
cause of the
constantly
band.
exchanging. Sure.
Right. So they
Christine,
have
I don't even know if we have a machine that can dive as fast as they can dive.
I don't think so. See, I
Yeah.
mean, that's why
That's what I'm saying.
making
There's human
elephant
technology
seals.
can't even keep up with that,
You
and
know
they
what?
just do
Those
it.
other guys from with the Nintendo joystick, what was the name of that
Ocean
thing?
Gate. Ocean
Oh.
Gate.
Yeah, they should have had a seal as their mascot or guide.
Well, no, because
Right.
the seal can do it successfully. They screwed up.
Well, the seal could have been like their emergency spare tire. Okay, we're going to bring them back up because these stupid
Yeah.
humans don't know what to do. We've been doing this for, I don't know, millions of years, maybe.
Yep.
I mean,
That's
that's just
fascinating.
and that they're able to collapse their lungs. I mean, like the elasticity of that to be able to do that and then reinflate. And I'm sure their lung volume is probably insane because
Do
Right.
non-elephant seals have the same hardware, so to speak?
Yeah, they're mammals.
Yeah.
They obviously they have like their kidneys are very large because they're taking in volumes of seawater along with their prey. So they have to be able to filter all those salts out of the seawater. So they have large kidneys, and they have special structures in their skull to recapture moisture as they breathe out, because of course, since they have to rely on their blubber for everything, including their water needs, they need to be very economical in retaining water. So they have these special turbinates in their head so that when they breathe out, it recaptures water from their lungs.
Yeah.
Well, that's good for our astronauts, I would think.
I would think so. Their lungs have extra surfactant. This is a factor in premature babies that don't have enough of this to expand their lungs, so that their lungs, when they're collapsed like that, they don't stick together.
Right.
They are able to then reinflate their lungs without problem.
Right.
Yeah.
That
So
pleural
that
fluid, essentially.
There's a lot of different adaptations to
that
do
professor that you talked about, is the college tagging any at all for studying?
I'm sure Cal Poly is.
Yes, they are tagging a lot, and UC Santa Cruz has active research programs.
Yes.
And there's a lot going on with elephant seals, and I feel like they're finally, a couple of years ago, I was trying to pitch a book to some editors, and the editors are all in cities, and everyone thought I was talking about sea lions, it's like,
they don't even look alike.
Right. But
it's fascinating. I mean, has Nat Geo ever covered elephant seals? Because I don't.
Not a lot. I have a friend who works at Nat Geo, but she hasn't done anything at that.
You know what? I watch Nature. Can you get Nature to do a special on them? I mean,
PBS?
I love it.
Love to. I'm ready. I mean,
we'll contact them.
I mean, because if people understand what these creatures can do,
they're extremists. They are extreme animals.
You know what it is? Marvel Comics needs to make the Elephant Seal Man. That's what they need, to do rescues. And
rescue what? Rescue Ocean Gate?
Yeah, rescue the Ocean Gate. Yes, right.
So, okay,
Yeah.
elephant in the room, pun intended. The big proboscis that the males have.
Yeah.
What is that and why?
Well, it's called a secondary sexual characteristic. It's identifiable. It's something that is unusual, and it's visually something that they can recognize. Whether it is effective in their call, they have a very loud sort of bugling trumpet call that the males have. Sometimes it looks like that nose is kind of vibrating, so maybe it has some kind of amplifying effect, but they think it's really just, I mean, who's the biggest beach master and who's
Yeah.
got the biggest nose? It seems like it may be just like a peacock's tail, something
Okay.
that's just attractive.
Wow.
Wow,
I'd
that's
be pretty hot in the elephant seal world then.
Right.
God.
That and the chest shield. That's the
Uh-huh.
other big attraction that develops regardless, but it also does have a function in that that's how they fight. They bump chests and they rip and tear at each other's chests with
Oh
their
God.
teeth, and it's kind of a calloused area. So it can be cut and it can bleed, but it's not life threatening.
Okay. Okay, it's like a sacrificial piece, so to speak.
Right. It's their fighting is for real, but it's also kind of symbolic. They don't fight to the death.
Oh, they don't kill each other. Oh, I think
No.
that's probably one of the few animals that doesn't, because most animals, if they're
Yeah.
fighting, it's gonna kill you. Wow.
Right.
Interesting. So then that being said about the nose, like I guess does that just develop over time? When do they get their full face?
Right. Well, it starts developing when they're about 5.
Okay.
And during those years between about 5 and 8, it's sort of a rough gauge of how old the seal is.
Sure.
They're considered fully mature at about 8, but they probably are not dominant enough to actually breed until they're about 12.
Oh, wait, so
But
what's
then,
their lifespan
Wow.
then?
Wow.
well, males only live to be 12 or 13.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
wow.
Yeah. Females can live into their 20s. And of course, every year there's attrition. It's a very tough life in the ocean.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Um, I'm not sure if you know the answer to this, but we're very concerned about microplastics and plastics in the
Mm.
ocean. Have the elephant seals been impacted by these plastics? Because we got that Pacific garbage dump out there, and
Mhm.
it's even the sharks. To drop a name, is it Dr. Lowe or Dr.
Yeah,
Lowe?
Dr. Lowe.
Dr.
Dr.
Lowe
Lowe.
from where's
Cal
he
State
at?
Long Beach Shark Lab.
Yeah,
Mm.
I mean it's just so
Well, sharks are
pervasive
also an
through.
apex predator. I mean, although I guess these elephant seals are too. So,
Yeah,
it's like,
but there's anyway. Talk about that, and then we have to let you go.
Okay. Yes, we do occasionally see entangled seals on the beach, and
oh,
it is terrible. It's one of the worst things that we see out there. I feel like even a seal that's been shark bitten, it looks terrible, but that's the
right.
natural order of things. When they come in and they've got a piece of plastic around their neck and they're slowly strangling,
Yeah.
it's terrible. We do contact the Marine Mammal Center, which has a an outpost south of here, really mainly for the elephant seals, and they will try to do what they can. It is a very difficult rescue. The seal has to be in a place where it's isolated enough away from the rest of the animals so that it doesn't disturb the beach
Sure.
if they go down there, and also so that the rescuers are safe if conditions are exactly right. And they have to get permission from NOAA to enter the beach because they are federally protected animals. They will go down and try to immobilize the animal. They'll bring down a veterinarian, immobilize the animal with a tranquilizer, and then cut the plastic off and
Mm.
give it a shot of antibiotic, and it's on its way. Every now and again, conditions are just right, and they're able to cut it off without going through that. This is really even more rare, but you're dealing with an unpredictable situation, and we're all doing the best we can. the other thing I feel when we have that is that this is a very tough learning moment for our visitors to see what happens because of trash in the ocean.
Oh,
This is, yeah, it is very terrible. And but it does happen. And that's why that's why we're doing what we do, right?
yeah, yeah.
So that being said, I know you said that they don't have a very nice disposition. Is that just in general? They're just, I mean, obviously no wild animals, which you would consider friendly, but are they exceptionally unfriendly or cantankerous?
They seem that way to me,
Mhm.
they seem like they're kind of bad tempered all the time,
Like just a grumpy
They
old
fight
man.
each other. Yeah, the females are arguing with each other and they're snapping at the pups and they just seem kind of bad tempered. They're not cuddly, but they do have kind of dog-like faces, and I'm very fond of them anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's okay. I kind of like that you're mean to me. I like that, you know? I
Well, they
like,
are
Well,
who they are.
yeah.
They're
yeah,
top predators. They're right up there with white sharks. Um, they
it's amazing the
it,
information you've shared with us today. It's just wow, who knew? I didn't. I
yeah,
thought, you see them. Those are not elephant seals at Pier 39 in
No,
San
those are sea
Francisco.
lions. Are
no,
you kidding me?
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. But the fact that they're walking, on US 1, right? You said that they're
Yeah, that's
Well, they
crazy.
did back in the
yeah.
90s.
Wow.
There
How did
were
we
problems.
not hear about this?
Yeah. No, there was
Because we
there
were
were,
not far. We're not far from Santa Cruz.
yeah. But anyway, it wasn't Santa Cruz.
I know, but
Uh
still.
It was
yeah,
south of Santa Cruz.
Okay,
right.
so not far. Not far.
Not far.
We
Not far.
I definitely want to have you back to talk chicken,
Okay.
not turkey, chicken.
Oh, well,
Yes, well,
Um,
and the
do
condors.
turkeys too.
yeah.
I can do turkeys. I can do ducks and geese. We can do waterfowl, and I can also do condors, or
Well,
I can put you in touch with the condor researchers.
let me tell you, those Canadian geese are not going home.
They become resident at
Oh
times.
my
Yeah.
God, they
They're
Yeah.
were
mean.
in San Ramon, California. They was on top of the bank building, and then when I was trying to walk in, they're squawking at me.
Yeah.
They're like guard dogs, those
Yeah,
geese.
they are. Well, that's part of their history is that the ancient Romans used geese to guard their city because
Here's
they
the
were
thing.
Beautiful segue to our next episode because we need to talk about that. All right,
The
so
guard geese. Oh my
the
God.
guard geese. Yeah, no, they
Yeah.
were on top of the building barking or whatever they quacking.
Yes,
And
because geese
yeah,
quack. Yes,
honking.
absolutely. Yes.
right. But their poop is all over the place,
Yeah.
unfortunately. All right, Bunny, land the
Well, yes.
plane.
Thank you so much, Christine, for your time. I'm going to
Okay.
put all the
Very
links to
enlightening.
Friends of the
Wow.
Elephant Seals up and this episode. Yes, and we
Okay.
definitely look forward to having you back on the show to discuss poultry and all that other fun stuff.
Yeah.
Where else what else, how can our listeners support Friends of the Elephant Seals, or is there
You can go to elephantseal.org. There
Mhm.
are also live webcams there, so you can actually
Excellent.
see what's happening in
Perfect.
real time.
Oh,
Excellent.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
go there right now. Yeah, I'm
go
gonna
there
see.
right now. There are two, one at the north side of the boardwalk and one at the south, and this will give you a very good idea of how large this rookery is, this viewpoint, which is really just part of the rookery. And you can donate there. You can become involved. The organization has developed to the point where they have special presentations for school groups, and
Awesome.
they have a speakers bureau that will go out to service clubs, and they, you know, they are trying to serve the public, and I support that. And I am a docent to help understand the seals and understand the whole ocean ecosystem
Sure.
of which the seals are a part.
Sure.
Can you repeat that website, please?
Elephantseal.org.
Oh, elephantseal.org. Okay.
Yeah, I think you guys when I was looking up elephant seals, I think you guys are like the first thing to come up. And I was like, oh, okay,
It could
that's
be,
perfect.
yeah.
I was like,
Well,
.org,
the
excellent.
California thing came up. Friends
Um,
of the Elephant Seal.
That's
Elephant
it.
Seal, yeah, yeah.
yes, that's so
Piedras
great that
Blancas Northern.
Piedras Blancas.
It's so great
Okay.
that there's this organization, that there are people that care
Live
about
beach
these
cam.
guys
Oh, wow.
and whatnot. And we appreciate you guys, because I know I'm
So,
sure it's a labor of love and can seem like a
yeah,
thankless effort at times.
they're
It,
federally protected and state protected, I think, as
that,
well, right?
yes,
But if you think about it, I mean, what? It's only 5 miles off the coast, and then you're in international water. So, I mean,
right.
they're
That's
protected to
Wow.
an extent.
And we have, there are plans for a major offshore wind farm, which is coming down the pike. They have plans for hundreds of floating wind turbines. I don't know how that's gonna work out.
Yeah.
That's coming. So it's a very busy ocean. It is a military, flyover area, and we also have Vandenberg Space Force Base here. When you're talking about the Department of Defense, I thought, well, I don't know, there's a new colony of elephant seals just establishing themselves on the beach at Vandenberg
Good.
Space Force
Good for
Base.
them.
Well, just a FYI on a live update, there's more going on at the South Beach than the North Beach. There's a bunch of folks out there, elephant seals out on the South Beach, and some of them are just hanging out, laying around. Others are talking to each other, and others are barking at each other. And do you call it barking? I don't know what you call it.
Barking,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Well, this is a great site. I'm gonna now
He's going to be
I
on there for the
can
rest of the day.
watching.
Yeah. It's
Probably
it's
me too,
fascinating.
probably me
Right.
too.
You can just sit there and watch them, and it's the reason there's so few on the North Beach is we have very high tides. We are experiencing sea level rise, and all those beaches were inundated. So any seals that were there have been chased off by the high waves.
Oh, no
Is the
kidding.
visitor center on the South or North Beach,
The
Christine?
visitor center is several miles south in the town of San Simeon. So
Oh,
the
San
visitor
Simeon,
center is
yeah.
not right there at the viewpoint.
Okay. South Beach. So if somebody wanted to find the directions to the South Beach, would they just put in South Beach, Pillos Blancas Rookery, and could they?
Yeah, I think probably Elephant Seal Viewpoint. It should
Okay,
be right up.
already. Got it. Well, thank you so
And
much.
there's literally nothing else out there.
Yeah,
There's
yeah. It looks.
rangeland on the other side, and there's a big parking lot, and that's so. I hate to say you can't miss it, because whenever anyone tells me that, I can usually miss it. But
Right.
it's very easy to find along Highway 1.
Oh,
Oh,
that's awesome.
there's a website, Highway 1 Road Trip, and they
Mm.
talk about this elephant seals of San Simeon. So I'm
Right.
not
That's
sure if that's the South Rookery. That might be south of the South Rookery, right?
No, that would refer to that.
Okay.
That's as far south as it goes. So.
Well, next time I visit California, I'm going there.
Absolutely. Free, open
Wow,
twice.
it's great. Oh, look at they're fighting. Wow.
Thank you
Do
for
they
that.
bite the noses or no? They don't bite the nose. They don't
Oh,
go
it's
for
really
the.
quick.
No, they bump their chests
She just said-
and
she
rip
said-
and tear at their
Yeah.
chests.
All right.
Okay, you
Any
never told us
elephants?
about the sand throwing. I see them throwing sand. What's is
Oh,
that for their
well,
skin?
it's thought to be thermoregulation to help them
Uh-huh.
stay cool on the beach. But you know
Yeah.
what? Some of them do it and some don't. And it's
Okay.
also kind of a stress reliever. When the mothers are in labor, they often toss so much sand that they'll dig out deep holes on each side of them. And it's kind of one of the things we look for to see if someone's ready to deliver a pup. Because, of course, every visitor wants to see a pup born.
Of course.
And it is
Right.
very exciting.
Right. I would love to. My
Yeah.
wife, when she was pregnant, she spun her head around like The Exorcist. So I guess there's a bunch of strange
It's not
behaviors.
quite that dramatic, but
Yeah.
it's pretty dramatic.
Thank you so
Hold on,
much.
wait, really quick. Any
Yeah.
elephant seal bites that we are aware of?
It not in a long time that I have heard of. I was reviewing that this morning, but because we've really had this educational program that helps to keep the humans and the seals separate,
Good.
I think we've been able to keep both sides safe so far.
Oh, yeah,
5,000 pounds for the adult male and 1,800
Yeah.
pounds for the adult female, and
I would want to be bit by that, to be honest. I mean, I also would not put myself in a
70-pound
situation to be bit by
babies.
that thing, but like,
Oh my
I can't imagine being
goodness.
bit by one of those is fun.
It
Okay.
would be horrifying,
We may have to take a deeper dive.
Yes.
as it were.
Yes.
But yes,
All right. Thanks,
thank you so
Christine.
much, Christine.
Okay, well,
Alrighty.
thank you.
Bye-bye. It was
bye.
great. Thank
Okay.
you.